Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Major drama hitting the VALORANT world yesterday with Riot Games officially responding to the match-fixing allegations that emerged over the last couple of months. Sean Gayers did his major breakdown video with Blue Otter and other teams potentially getting involved in this situation, but now Riot Games say that as far as they are aware, there is no credible evidence that any of this stuff actually ever unfolded. What does that mean for the credibility around all of these discussions in the future? Some drama going on with Aspas as well. Very much enjoyed to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. We're actually going to start with the Aspas stuff. So there was this video that was doing the rounds yesterday, just because we know that MIBR are struggling right now, and here's this guy, you know, fist bumping some of the MIBR guys, Verno, the new in-game leader of the team, and yeah, they're obviously not necessarily in a great spot, and neither is Aspas, right? Clearly Aspas pretty frustrated, you know, he's not going for the fist bump, this guy's just fully locked in. Now, you know, Aspas kind of clarifies why this was the case in the replies, but what was interesting about this is there was a quote tweet on this video that effectively talked about his wife. Now, like, again, I don't really see the place for this type of stuff in public, but, you know, it is what it is, and as a result, Aspas was responding to it. Now, there's an asterisk instead of the wife's name here, I think, for, let's say, legal reasons anyway, but there was this tweet that came out anyway, and then Aspas did a reply and said the following: "You guys are going too far trying to blame my wife for my actions. It's no use hiding the name. It will be resolved legally. It's no use pretending you're not talking about her. She's not on social media, much less do we talk about Valorant. She's been with me since 2022. I've never seen her harm anyone, quite the opposite. You guys keep believing all the hate and the things that people say, but I live with her every day and see something completely different. Regarding Malau, it's an attitude of mine that he knows about, right, which is, I guess, is this video right here, and has already been warned about. First, that's the thing about shaking hands, and second, when I'm in focus mode for the game, following my routine, I don't talk outside of game day. I talk to him without any issues. You're just trying to find reasons to throw hate because the performance is below expectations, and this video is very convenient for that." So, yeah, obviously, Aspas, it's kind of tricky, right, because when his team is struggling right now, MIBR are struggling, and as a result, it's kind of when it rains, it pours, right? So people are going to find reasons to criticize him, even more so than normal, and then you get some drama like this. So, yeah, wishing the best for all involved, basically, but MIBR do need to get better. That is for sure. This is what's going on in Europe. For esports, played Gen.G. They got the win 2-1. It was a sunset 13-11 to Gen.G, and after that, for esports won the next couple of maps. They won the Haven 13-6. They then won the Bind 13-5 to take, you know, finally, the team's actually showing some signs of life, right? Because Mr. Ford the other day didn't have his greatest performance, and since CNET has come back in, it didn't look great against Vitality, but a big win here does put them back on track. We also had BBL playing Gentlemates. And man, I mean, it's another absolute classic from Gentlemates, right? I mean, it's kind of funny they got a player called Comeback now, because these guys just get comebacked on for fun. But the Sunsets, they didn't get comebacked on because they just lost. They were never up in the map. They went 1-1 was the best they got. They lost 13-3. Big map from basically everyone, Yampy and Magnum especially. And then the Lotus, I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up. They go up 10-2, come back with an absolute masterclass on the attacking side. Look at them go 20-5. But unfortunately, things fell away, and they lost 10-2 on the second half and then lost the overtime, right? I mean, the fact that they got to 12-5, I mean, it's just terrible, isn't it, really? They go up 10-2, they get to 12-5. Like, surely you can't lose from 12-5 up on their map pick. I hope that it doesn't break this team mentally, but it might. You couldn't rule it out. And Gentlemates go down. FNS was commenting on it and saying, like, damn, can't believe that happened again. And Yampy says, yeah, completely changed from where we handled the situation while losing badly. Good preparation for everyone. Happy to get the win on the board. That was definitely one of the comebacks of all time. So Europe is currently looking like this now. These are the respective groups. For esports at 2-1, BBL now at 1-2. So potentially the comeback arc is on for them. Gentlemates still stuck at 0-3 after just bottling every series they've played. So it's looking potentially over for them when it comes to playoffs contention. Maybe it's not, you know, they still play Gen.G and Vitality to come, so maybe it's not totally impossible. BBL, their next big game is against Vitality, right? So that's going to be a very important match, actually, for all of those teams. So Group A is all to play for, and I'd say that Group B as well is also, or Group Omega, is also very compelling too. because, well, we've got a couple of games upcoming, Team Liquid versus Apex and Movistar Koi versus KC, so we'll see. But right now, Apex and Movistar look like the two teams that are going to be bowing out of that group. We also saw, in the Challenger side, a majorly important game yesterday. We talked about this one, the two teams at 3-0, fighting to become first team to get to 4-0 and qualify guarantees, and it was not Envy. It was Cubert Academy who get the win. And this is really impressive from Cubert. It was actually a mega series. Kane Zera actually didn't go positive for once, which is, well, it's obviously a decisive factor when Kane Zera is usually just basically carrying the team hard. Not like he's always carrying it, and he's not always going to have a crazy good series. I do think, though, that Caillou and the guys on Cubert deserve a lot of credit here. Caillou especially, making the changes they did, T-Dog gone, Caillou coming in. He was, yeah, very, very impressive to me, I thought, on this roster. And Knight as well really delivered too. So this is really compelling, right? Yeah, both of these teams, for Envy, for example, they've got players who are not old enough to be able to compete in the Pro League. I don't know if Cubert are actually allowed to go to Ascension just because they're part of Sentinels, so I don't really think that it's allowed. So anyway, it's still going to be a really big deal. But Envy won the Lotus 16-14, and this is what I thought was impressive about Cubert, is that after a crazy overtime here, you could easily mentally lose your head. But on the Sunset, you know, Sunset, right, it's a Cubert Academy pretty good there, but that was Envy's pick. They lost it 13-9, and then they dominated the Corrode 13-3. So that was, I thought, really, really impressive. And fair play to Cubert Academy getting the win. Envy still in very strong position, but right now it's looking particularly tasty when it comes to what's going to happen going into Ascension slightly later on this year, and what that means, of course, for the Pro League as well, given that, as we know, some of these pro teams are most certainly struggling as it stands. Just a quick look at then what that does look like overall. Cubert got to 4-0, Maryland University, or Maryville University, sorry, and then Envy and Winthrop University, QR, they're all at 3-1. So still plenty of opportunities to make sure they secure their spot, and then the rest is probably going to be history. But we'll see what Envy do, because it was the first time that they found themselves on the losing side of anything in quite some time, right? I mean, the last time they lost was to Cubert back in March, and now they've lost to Cubert again. So quite the run they've got on. You can't win everything forever, of course. Just to quickly mention, on the Sentinel side, they put this out there. For jinx-based reasons, we refuse to acknowledge how close we are to qualifying for champs. Just if you guys aren't familiar, these are the current champ standings. Sentinels at 13, G2 at 20. They've already qualified, but as I said before, if G2, let's say, were to get top 2 at the end of the stage, and maybe Leaf comes back in, maybe they just do it with Baby Bay, whatever, then, of course, it will go down the list. But realistically, Sentinels should be, it may not be officially locked in yet, but within reason, they're very, very close. And these just the Fnatic numbers with Heretics, if you guys didn't quite get to see that on the other side of the screen. So those are the numbers if you guys are familiar with them or unfamiliar with them. But let's talk about this big drama, right? So back in the middle of May, there was all this match-fixing drama going on, as we know. Now, this was emerging behind the scenes. Sean Gares was kind of uncovering people throwing serious money around to Challengers players, apparently, to say, okay, throw this game and I'll give you a load of money, and I'll bet on, I'll bet big money on you guys to lose, and therefore I will be taking home the bag and you will get some of that bag. Now, these were major allegations at the time. The understanding was that, Mr. Funhaver, who was also getting involved, because he reveals publicly that this was a conversation being had, Sean Gares was kind of pushed into a tricky position because he was investigating this behind the scenes. He was trying to piece together enough evidence to go to Riot with compelling evidence to say, hey, I believe that this is occurring. And then Mr. Funhaver kind of leaked that these conversations are being had, which maybe allowed the perpetrators some time to delete messages, delete conversations, and get to the point where there was less credible evidence in play. So instead of finding real solid evidence, there was some evidence of screenshots of offers being sent to certain players by individuals that seemingly were involved in these type of scandals. The difficulty is there enough evidence to prove beyond any doubt that the individuals who were potentially offered these things actually accepted it and actually did throw? Sean Gez came out with a video looking at some specific moments and Blue Otter and other teams that he felt were very indicative of plays that you would not make if you were trying to win. But, you know, I will say that some of these plays, some of these moments, yeah, some of them looked a bit suspect, but I mean, you can watch Furia play right now and you would think that they were throwing the games more so than some of the clips in this video. So this is what Sean Gez came out with. And maybe it was too premature. Maybe it was too on the nose. And we know what happened afterwards, that Sean Gez, you know, the reaction from Riot was really non-existent. And Sean Gez was, I think they actually took away his ability to watch party. And then he's now out of the scene, right? He's kind of gone back to Counter-Strike. So last night, they come out with a statement. And Valorant Esports NA say, in response to serious public allegations of cheating, match fixing, and other misconduct, because there was even rumours that one of like the Riot anti-cheat devs was in on it, and he was getting paid off to kind of turn a blind eye to some of these players and whitelist them that were actually cheating. So there was all sorts of major allegations. Riot Games conducted an investigation and extensive review that encompassed video footage, player interviews, internal system logs, and third-party integrity data. This comprehensive review, which included consultation from third-party integrity partners, did not find sufficient evidence to substantiate any allegations of cheating, coordinated manipulation, or betting-related misconduct involving any players, teams, or organizations. So they come with an article, and you know, there's obviously lots that is said here in this article. They talk about Blue Otter, they talk about the match against Shopify Rebellion, and they say, upon conclusion of the review, there was insufficient evidence to substantiate any claims of cheating, coordinated manipulation, etc., as we just saw. So, you know, it's a very big statement that they come out with here. Of course, there's a full report if you guys want to read it in your own time, or just on the screen by pausing if you want to. I'll just quickly scroll down it, as you guys can see. They also talked to some of their kind of betting partners, basically Sports Radar, Grid, IBIA as well, to kind of discuss whether any of these games and the activities and the betting activities on these games would be described in their opinion as suspicious, and they didn't really find that. So one of the conclusions you could take here is that it's not guaranteed that this never happened. I think it's plausible that this match fixing stuff has happened, but, and it may not have done, right? We don't know. Sean Gez would say that it has for sure. Others would probably tend to agree, Mr. Funhaver as well. But on the review, there's not enough evidence to suggest that it happened for sure and with who involved. So I think that's what's, because we don't know who was involved, if anyone, and Riot have investigated and they've said that there was not enough evidence to say. They didn't say that there was no evidence. They've just said that there was insufficient evidence to absolutely, you know, to substantiate beyond a reasonable doubt any of these claims. So it's a big moment, right? It definitely makes it feel like Sean Gez jumps the gun massively in his assessment, really, of the situation, and maybe, you know, that the video was in poor taste and poorly timed and with various errors and mistakes and mischaracterizations is possibly the view in hindsight. And well, Sean Gez, let's be honest, is no longer in the community, really. So it's been a difficult couple of months for him for sure. Maybe he was right, at least about something, but there's not enough evidence to say, and therefore the reaction may still well continue. There was this funny, you guys remember this one, when back in May, this guy Nick says, my boy has poured his like heart and soul into this, he loves Valorant, and the slander to his name will not go unanswered. Huge mistake, kid, at Sean Gez. So, yeah, I don't know if there's going to be any follow-up to this from that perspective, but time will tell. So very much interested to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.